Hey Mala, Seth here with a tutorial, but don't worry, vlog will be next week. Might be a few days late, but hopefully this makes up for it. Pardon me. So, you asked about zoom effects and how that is done. So let me show you throughout this tutorial. Also, I apologize if I look dark or light. The lighting at the moment isn't great, but oh well. So here in DaVinci, I've already got my clips selected and cut down to the size that I want and where I want my transitions to be. So that's of course the first thing that you want to get done. Zoom transitions work, as I've found, really well when you have a specific object in the frame that you want to zoom into and out of. So in this case, I'll be using the sun in this first clip as what I'll be zooming into, and then from will be, in the next clip, it's going to be my face. So I'll zoom out of my face, and that's going to be how the zoom transition works there. And then the second clip, I'll be zooming in to the end of the tunnel. So right about there is when it will zoom at its max. And then we'll zoom out of this pool for you. So let's get started. In color, when I was preparing for this video, I put together a little bit, slapped some color grading together, because that's the first thing that you want done before you apply effects. Because I've learned that when you apply an effect to the video and then you try to do your color grading afterwards, sometimes it will delete the effects and everything that you did before the color grading, which is not fun at all. So, man, I need to close my blinds. That light, the sun is getting me right in the eyeballs. Okay, and it still is. So, yep. So, and I can do a little tutorial if you want. Let me know what you want about color grading. I'm certainly not a professional about it, but for the past few weeks I've been learning my way around it. So I already did a little bit of color grading just based on the 3D LUT in film looks, Kodak 2383D60, and then I just worked with some of the color wheels to change it up. So I'll just apply grade there, and to this one, apply grade there. So just I don't know, it has kind of a gray bluey effect that I like for this clip. It's not perfect, it was just a quick 1 minute grade, but it serves its purpose. So we're gonna want to add, so you right click it, go to add node, and then add serial. So that just adds a layer to the video that you can mess around with, and then we'll do that with this video, this clip I should say, and this one. This, I'm not going to bother with color grading this clip, so just add serial node. So we have our extra node that we'll be applying the effects to in all these videos. So go under Open Effects, and then it's going to be Resolve FX Blur, and the one we'll be using is Zoom Blur. Feel free to mess around with any of those. That's what I've done. My favorite's a directional blur, because you can get especially good panning shots, trying to get a panning transition. The directional blur just helps, looks like you speed up and then slow down, so it makes for a good transition like that. Radial blur is nice when you have a centered object, so it, I don't know, kind of blossoms away or into that object, and then it's nice for transitions. But yeah, mess around with whatever you want. In this specific tutorial, I'll just be using Zoom Blur. So just apply that there, apply that there. As you can see, that just applies a medium, that's 0.4 strength to the entire video, and that's not what we want. So pick where you want it to end, because where the clip ends is where it will be, the effect will be its strongest. And then the most important thing is, so this is node 3, and that corresponds down here to corrector 3. So you're going to press that little diamond so it shows up as orange, and then that means that you've enabled keyframes. so that when you mess around here, so we can add that to max. Border type, I like reflect, I don't like that black around it. And then I might change this to be right dead on the sun. So you just change its X position and its Y position to match up wherever you want. And then it adds the keyframe right there, so kind of a point of reference. Contrast you made. And I'm going to want the effect to start right there. So I'm going to put smooth strength to 0. And then we can see the whole clip is just normal, except for there when it goes from 0 to 100, from 0 to 1. And then that looks like that. So we've got a basic, I mean you can go in here and put a little bit more right there, there. So this is if you want it to go from 0 to 0.5 really quickly, and then from 5 to 1 pretty slow in comparison. So you can just mess around with that stuff. I'll just leave that in the middle. So with this clip, the one that we zoom into, the moment, because we just applied zoom blur to the third, it applies it to the entire video. That's not what we want. So we're gonna click keyframes so we can mess around with it. At the start of the video, because we're going into this video, we'll have the effect at its strongest. So put that up to 100, border type, reflect. And then at the moment it's kind of on the, depends on how you're looking at the video, but dead on this way, it's to the right of my face. So I'm going to want that to be right in the middle. Yep. So that's how the video is going to start off. And depending on how long we want the effect to go for, I'm going to do it right until I start talking, which is right about there. That's when it goes to 0. So sometimes you can see, so that's pretty centered, but then it kind of loses its centeredness. I don't know what word to use there, because I might have moved my head. So if there's a lot of movement going on the object you want to center on, that's when you have to edit frame by frame its position to make sure it stays on the object. But here I'll just pick a middle point, whoops, about right there, make sure that that's still on the middle. So these clips strung together are going to look a bit like that.
I didn't understand why it's
I think it looks pretty good. It makes for a good transition. Visually, I think it's pretty cool, pretty neat for a relatively easy effect. It's not too complicated once you get used to it. So this clip, I'll go into my next example. We're going to want the effect at its strongest, again at the end of the clip, because that's when it transitions to the next one. So we add zoom blur to that second node. That of course applies it to the whole clip. So then we enable keyframes on the corrector that corresponds to the node. So that's 2 and 2. Take this, go to the end of the video. We're going to want smooth strength at 100. So I'll put it down while I edit the position. So at the moment it's to the left of the tunnel, and I want it to zoom right into the middle of the tunnel. So it seems like you're zooming right out of the tunnel. So that's going to be about right there, up a little bit. And I'd call that, I'm not being a perfectionist, but I'd say that looks pretty good. So then just increase that to 1 or 100%. And I'm going to want the effect to start about right there. Let's put that to 0. And then the effect looks like, oops, we'll start up. Yeah, that effect is way too short at the moment. I forgot how short I clipped the clip to. So I'm going to extend that out to about there so people actually have a chance to see the effect. And then that's, move it a little bit. Then I'll add a keyframe there because it moves away from the middle of the tunnel, because I'm obviously moving down the slide, so I'll put that in the middle. And then it looks like that. And I'm okay with how that looks, so second node, apply that, zoom blur, enable keyframes, put that at 100, a little less for edit position. And then this, I'm not going for the middle of the video, but I want it to be the middle of the pool floaty. So that just needs a tiny bit of tweaking. Yep, that looks about right. Let's put that back up to 100. Prototype reflect. Did I do that over here? No, I didn't. Reflect. Then, dang it, that made a keyframe. Didn't need to do that. So here, reflect. And I have to add a reflect to this one as well. There we go. So here, I'm gonna want it to end right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 frames. So that's half a second, roughly, which looks a little something like that. So this one might be a little too long now, so you can just drag that where you want it, like that. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So let's watch these clips here over here. That's how that transitions there, and I like the look of that. So let's go over here. And yeah, that's nice. It could be a little shorter, but it's all personal preference at this point. Just mess around. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope I was able to make sense. If not, let me know and I'll try to explain things a little clearer. But yeah, practice makes perfect. So just, if you got a spare 30 minutes or so, just chuck some clips in. Maybe clips that you know that there's an object that you'd like to zoom into, or use radial blur, or maybe there's some panning shots that you got. And yeah, you could try any of these. Really, you could try any effect, but I like the Resolve FX blur, as especially starter effects, because you can really see what they're doing to the video, and you get a pretty cool outcome pretty quickly as well for the least amount of work. Anyway, these tutorials will become a regular thing, I think, because I'm constantly learning. I know you're constantly learning as well, so if you find anything cool within DaVinci Resolve, let me know, man. I'm looking forward to that. And have a good one.